There has to be some way we can maintain the sense that people have that there's some security or some confidence that government can function and that we can elect the President of the United States. Did we go back into session?
We did go back into session, but now apparently everybody on the floor is putting on tear gas masks to prepare for a breach. Well, I'm trying to get more information.
They're putting on their
tear gas masks.
The House January 6th committee held what's likely to be their final hearing, and it did not disappoint. While Donald Trump was glued to his TV and Mike Pence was in hiding, new video shows House Speaker Nancy Pelosi assuming the role of acting president in an effort to defend democracy.
Bring her out! Bring her out here! Hey! We're coming in if you don't bring her out!
I'm going to call up the effing Secretary of DOD. We have some senators who are still in their hideaways. They need massive personnel now. Can you get the Maryland National Guard to come too?
I have something to say, Mr. Secretary. I'm going to call the mayor of Washington, D.C. right now and see what other outreach she has to other police departments, as Senate Leader Hoyer has mentioned.
There you see Speaker Pelosi and Senate Leader Chuck Schumer calling the Secretary of Defense to try and raise any protection for the Capitol. What you won't see is any Republican taking a moment to step up and act. Kevin McCarthy is milling around the back of the room. McConnell watches silently. And those guys claim to be big, tough Republican men. Disgraceful.
Hi, Governor. This is Nancy. Governor, I don't know if you have been approached about the Virginia National Guard. Mr. Hoyer was speaking to Governor Hogan, but I still think you probably need the okay of the federal government in order to come into another jurisdiction. Thank you.
Secretary of the Army.
Oh my gosh, they're just breaking windows, they're doing all kinds of, it's really that they said somebody was shot. It's just horrendous, and all at the instigation of the President of the United States.
And remember, Pelosi is doing all of this while a crowd just outside is shouting for her to be brought out so they can kill her. And when the Secretary of Defense tells Pelosi that there's nothing he can do without Trump's approval, she springs into action. Listen, I've had my disagreements with Nancy Pelosi about politics and procedure. I've been frustrated with her. But there is no denying that in this critical moment, Pelosi was the force in Washington bringing together governors, mayors, and the National Guard to protect American democracy. And notice, you still don't see a single Republican trying to help resolve this national crisis. But despite repeatedly asking for urgent help from anyone, including the Secretary of Defense and the acting Attorney General, Trump's White House still refuses to even give a timeline for when they'll mount a counter-assault. And remember, at the time this phone call is happening, members of the House are putting on gas masks and being told to flee for their lives from armed rioters.
How soon in the future can you have the place evacuated, pulled, cleaned out?
I don't want to speak for the leadership that's going to be responsible for executing the operation, so I'm not going to say that because they're on the ground and they're the actual.
Or just pretend for a moment it was the Pentagon or the White House or some other entity that was under siege. And let me say, you can logistically get people there as you make the plan.
Yeah, you heard that right. That was Nancy Pelosi literally telling the Trump White House that they need to walk and chew gum at the same time. And hey, Mitch McConnell finally showed up, though he didn't bother to say a word to the Trump lackeys endangering his own life. Boy, what a profile in courage. Say what you will about Nancy Pelosi, and I'm sure you will in the comments, but what she's doing here is above and beyond the role of Speaker of the House. It really does look like in that moment, Nancy Pelosi is the only functioning branch of the federal government left. And where was Donald Trump? In his private office, watching with glee as his insurrectionists tried to kill his enemies. For the longest time, it looked like these January 6th hearings would wrap up without addressing the elephant in the White House, Donald Trump himself. But on their last day, Chairman Benny Thompson did something unexpected. He held a vote to subpoena Donald Trump for testimony about his role in the deadly events of January 6th. Yeah, the committee finally found their spine.
I am offering this resolution that the committee direct the chairman to issue a subpoena for relevant documents and testimony under oath from Donald John Trump in connection with the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol.
The clerk will call the roll. Ms. Cheney.
Aye.
Ms. Cheney, aye. Ms. Lofgren.
Aye.
Ms. Lofgren, aye. Mr. Schiff.
Aye.
Mr. Schiff, aye. Mr. Aguilar.
Aye.
Mr. Aguilar, aye. Mrs. Murphy.
Aye.
Mrs. Murphy, aye. Mr. Raskin.
Aye.
Mr. Raskin, aye. Mrs. Luria.
Aye.
Mrs. Luria, aye. Mr. Kinzinger.
Kinzinger, aye.
Mr. Kinzinger, aye. Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, aye.
This week is proving to be a tough one for Donald Trump. First, the Supreme Court unanimously rejected his last-ditch effort to keep the government away from his stolen classified documents. Now, the January 6th committee has unanimously agreed that it's time for Donald Trump to talk under oath. And Donald Trump, well, he probably doesn't want to say anything under oath. Now the January 6th committee has the tough task of actually getting Trump to testify. As we all know, Donald Trump is nothing if not a master of legal delay tactics. And it's entirely possible he could stonewall this subpoena until January, when Republicans are expected to win back the House of Representatives. If that happens, likely Speaker Kevin McCarthy will gladly make sure all of Donald Trump's problems go away. Trump will certainly have a hard time convincing anyone that what happened on January 6th was just a spontaneous riot. That's because the committee also revealed a trove of Secret Service communications that show the agency not only knew about the threats to the Capitol, they were told how and where these extremists were organizing.
As the time for the Ellipse rally approached, an email was circulated among intelligence officials, including Secret Service intelligence official, attaching communications among rallygoers that specifically contemplated violence. Trump has given us marching orders. One post on the Donald.win wrote, basically, if you're east of the Mississippi, you can and should be there. Advance on the Capitol. Keep your guns hidden, don't around, full kits, 180 rounds minimum for main rifle, another 50 for sidearm per person.
Does that sound like a bunch of tourists just looking to visit the Capitol? And those messages were coming into the Secret Service as far back as December 31st. One intelligence briefing even provides hashtags like "We Are the Storm" and "Occupy Capitals," and suggests maybe the Secret Service should look into these people. As events now show, Donald Trump never asked the Secret Service to look into those threats because he likely knew what they would find. And with the president silent and insurrectionists beating police officers at the Capitol, it fell to Democrats like Nancy Pelosi to protect our Congress and our democracy. Lucky for us, they did. If you made it to the end, thanks so much for watching. Please leave a like and consider subscribing. And leave a comment below so you can let me know what I should cover next.